To learn the good, the bad, and the reality of the off-grid lifestyle, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. Before I get started into this video, I want to explain that I try very hard not to buy into conspiracy theories or end of the world theories. Back in the early 2000s, I bought into that. I was pretty young, and I felt like the world was going to come to an end. Y2K, if anybody remembers that, that was going to be the computer virus that shut down the planet the year 2000. And then it was going to be the economic crash after that. I took a lot of action to prepare for all these things. I will admit that preparing for these things has led me down a path in my life that makes me want to live off-grid. The second thing is I held off on making this video because I didn't want to just be another guy out there saying, hey, okay, the end of the world's coming. I wanted to wait until I felt like there was a serious issue when our government, the United States government, said, okay, it's time to start taking action. And that happened yesterday as of this recording. I don't know when I'll get this recording up because YouTube doesn't like the word of this new virus that is spreading throughout the world. Which brings me to the third point. I'm not actually going to use the word that is causing so many people to get sick in the world. And I'm not going to name the country that it came from because YouTube just doesn't like all that. I've tested all kinds of words and they keep demonetizing and deleting videos, which is fine because I don't want to talk about the virus. I want to talk about what the federal government said. The federal government yesterday said, we are going to have to start worrying about this virus hitting the United States. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And they started talking about that towns are going to have to start taking in consideration shutting down public events, making classroom sizes smaller to prevent the spread, or even shutting down schools. Schools and employers may want to consider doing teleconference meetings. So like schools could do schooling through the computer, and businesses can do meetings through teleconference. I really start to see that the issue is here. This is a warning from our government. And I'm not sure I've ever in my lifetime seen this kind of warning from our government. So maybe I want to look at this a little bit more seriously. Then she said that towns are going to need to start thinking about shutting down public events. So I assume things like ball games, race car events. And then she says, and now we need to start thinking about what we're going to do when this thing hits. You know, do we have enough food? Do we have enough supplies? Are we able to stay in our house for 2 weeks or long stretches at a time? And so I wanted to bring that part of it because this is an off-grid lifestyle channel. This is kind of the reason why people go off-grid. I watched a news program yesterday on YouTube, and it really did seem kind of like, wow, this could be a problem. I mean, if estimates are right, they're talking about 1 million people dying in the United States. And I can't even wrap my head around this. San Francisco has already declared a state of emergency. I mean, now we have major cities putting extra resources and revenue towards this thing. So, okay, let's think about some of the things that we're going to have to worry about if cities start shutting down events like they did over there in that other country where this all started. Because that other country shut down the city. No one's allowed to leave their houses from what I understand. So what does that mean? Okay, first, food. You're going to need enough food to survive this. Because the grocery stores are going to shut down. I mean, a public place, right? And we're already seeing it over in other countries. The shelves are empty. There's no food to be had. So how can you prepare for food? Well, I would suggest doing what Carolyn and I do. We keep quite a few staple items around. Peanut butter, to us, is like the cure-all. It is the diet. It has protein, it's got health benefits. Now remember, staple items are going to be gone. You can't have anything that is going to expire. So when you run out of bread, either you have to learn how to make bread or know how to make bread, or you're just going to do without bread. Now Carolyn and I have ran out of bread, especially in nomadic lifestyle when we're 100 miles from any place. And so we would just eat peanut butter by the spoonful. Honey is another good sugar that you can mix in with the peanut butter. Gives you some energy. We like honey. We use a lot of honey. Honey's expensive, but it's something that's not going to expire. Honey lasts forever. It may crystallize, but you can still eat it. So keep a large supply of peanut butter and honey. Beans and rice. Now, I'm not talking about this is going to be like really good food. This is just going to keep you alive. Canned foods will be good. So what I would suggest is start stocking up now before the shelves go empty. Don't worry about the bread and ice cream. Worry about things you can store. Money. Now, I think money is going to be an issue. If you're not working, you're not getting paid. So you're going to have a stockpile of money for when the pandemic is over. So let's say they shut down everything for 2 weeks. Well, that means you didn't get paid for 2 weeks. So when you actually are able to leave the house, you're going to need enough money to go restock your food and pay your bills and all that kind of stuff. So you're not going to have that paycheck. I would suggest saving up right now. You need to be able to survive for 6 months. Is a good emergency fund. But if you haven't got that, you need to start putting every little dime away right now. Don't spend extras. A lot of people will say, well, I'm on Social Security, I don't have to worry about it. Well, that's fine if the government is actually giving out checks. You know, their banks are still going to have, you know, automatic deposits and all that. People are still going to have to control all that. And there's nobody around to control it. You may not get paid. Gas, not for your cars, but for generators. You know, if there is a power outage, I mean, right now, it looks beautiful. The sun's out, but we just got a snow. North wind's coming. It's supposed to rain again tonight. If that freezes up, it could knock down the power lines. And if there's nobody out here that's healthy enough to repair the power lines, you may be out of electric for 2 weeks. So you want to consider getting enough gas to last your generator for 2 weeks. Of course, all the things I've talked about, you need batteries, inverters. So if you don't have those already, you're going to need a lot of gas to run a generator so you can run things, simple things like lights, vitamins. Carolyn and I have not been sick for the last 5 years. Prior to that, I didn't get sick very often, and I worked in a shelter workshop where viruses were passed around quite easily. Yeah, what I take it every day, right before I go to bed. I take 2 garlic tablets that you can buy at Walmart and 1 cayenne pepper tablet. And it really does help me fight off infections. Garlic's good for infections. Cayenne is good for bacteria, viruses. Whether you believe this or not, a lot of people don't believe it. I take a little tablespoon of baking soda. I just put it in my mouth and swig some water. I do it mainly because I have acid indigestion before I go to bed. And I do it for the acid indigestion. Really relieves acid indigestion almost immediately. But there's a lot of studies that show that it reduces the alkaline in your body. And bacteria and viruses can't survive in a non-alkaline atmosphere. Well, whether that's true or not, it sure doesn't hurt anything. And again, I haven't been sick in 5 years, so why not? Carolyn just read something that elderberry, which you can buy at the store also. It's kind of pricey, but elderberry might be helping folks build immunities to fight off these bacteria and viruses. So stock up on your vitamins. I know there's a lot of people that don't believe in them, but I do because I've been doing this for 5 years and I've not been sick. Children. I homeschooled my daughter. She wasn't around a lot of children. She had a couple friends in town. We lived in a small town, and she just had 2 friends. And she would go visit them, I don't know, once a week or so on the weekends. And inevitably, every winter, she'd get sick at least twice a year. So even homeschooling my daughter did not immune me from getting sick or her getting sick. If you do have children, you really need to isolate them from other children, unfortunately, if this thing breaks loose. Children haven't learned good hygienes just yet. They gotta, wash their hands, and they just haven't learned how to do that. Boy, I tell you, it's chilly. Okay, trash is another thing you're gonna worry about. Recognize you may not have trash pickup for several weeks, and trash is gonna become a problem. If you leave it inside, it's gonna smell. Carolyn and I have dealt with trash for 3 years as a nomad. They don't have trash cans out in the national forest. Burn what you can burn. And then everything you can't burn, you need to compact just as tight as you can. Foods in there that are gonna spoil in Ziploc bags. If you have a coffee container, put your smelly items in the coffee container. You're not going to want to set it outside because the animals, of course, are going to come in and get it. And then finally, there are going to be those who didn't prepare. They're not going to have the food and the resources that you have. You know, if you got a generator running or solar panels that are running lights, and you got lights on in the middle of the night, they're going to see it. And they're going to think, oh, they're in a better situation than we are. And they may want your food, they may want your gas, they may want your generator. And so you're going to have to keep a real close eye on all this stuff. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching.